thrills, excitement, spectacle, young people have a natural appetite for such things. Plenty of interested folk are ready and eager to cater for this appetite too. For youth provides a rich and ready market for commercial entertainment of many kinds, such as those we're looking in at just now. Young people in their thousands seek and find many types of leisure time amusements every week in Britain as in many other countries. Some of them, to put it mildly, don't strike one as being particularly healthy recreation, do they? Did anyone say young people object to being pushed around? And it certainly is true that nearly all young people find great satisfaction in each other's company. However, you really couldn't call this a worthwhile leisure pursuit. Killing time would be a better description, don't you think? But just wait a moment. This crowd of young people on bicycles seems to have got hold of a better idea. Let's follow them. They're making their way home after a run into the countryside, back to their headquarters, one of the church youth clubs belonging to MAYC, the Methodist Association of Youth Clubs. Look at the notice board for a moment. This club takes its place in the family life of the local church as a community where young people, in partnership with their leaders, help to provide themselves with the most satisfying leisure activities and something more. Healthy bodies, alert and informed minds, and most important of all, a religious faith. MAYC stands for these, believing that the leadership of the Christ, who is the Lord and giver of the more abundant life, is the ultimate and vital need of youth. Let's take a look round and see how club members spend their time. Craft work is done in many clubs, and in the right company, it can be very attractive. But on the other hand, you don't want any feminine distractions on this job. That's right, laddie. Stick to the pattern and you won't go far wrong. Silk printing work can be immensely interesting, but you have to be careful. Ink like this can produce the most striking results if you happen to get it on the wrong places. You've got to know what you're doing. You need a good steady hand and a certain amount of artistic ability. There you are, a very handy picture for the next club drama poster. And talking of drama, here's a small group rehearsing a modern morality play. In it, a good time girl dreams she has died and is being received into the next world. She is offered the same gay and careless life she has always lived. But just before she passes on to it, a dazzling light appears and she catches just one glimpse of the beauty and the glory of God. Seeing it, all her past turns to dust and ashes, and her agony, when she realizes she has made her choice and must follow it, is, well, listen to it for yourself.
No, I can't come. I want to go in.
You cannot go in. You have made your choice. You have what you always thought.
You mean I can't go in? You don't really mean that. You can't mean it. You haven't let me see that, only to take it away forever. You don't suppose I'd have given a thought for all those ghastly things if only I'd known.
Here's something very different, but very typical nevertheless. A club parliament in which the club member shares in the government of his club and speaks his mind, if need be, to his elected cabinet members.
Mr. Speaker, will the Minister of Sport please tell us how long we're expected to wait for our new table tennis nets? The ones we have now look as though the moths have been at them.
Mr. Speaker, if members of the club would take a little more care with club equipment, we wouldn't need new nets. I'm getting some tomorrow.
Hooray! Mr. Speaker, has the drama group any right to use the music room for its rehearsals? Some of us wanted to play the gramophone last night and they wouldn't let us.
I think that's a question for the Prime Minister to answer.
Mr. Speaker, I don't suppose the drama group have any rights to the music room, but on the other hand, it's the only room available. And as the play they're getting up will help club funds, and playing the gramophone won't, I think they're entitled to a bit of consideration.
And so it goes on. These young people are educating themselves. though they'd be shocked if you said so. Open-air sports are always popular, and if this isn't Wimbledon, well, there's always room for the beginner. And when it comes to swimming, there's always the club member who apparently deserves to get thrown in. It's the best way to learn. Or is it? Anyway, there he goes, and someone to rescue him at the same time. And after cooling off, let's warm up again at that popular institution, the club canteen. This is one of the jobs keen members handle themselves, but sometimes not quite to the entire satisfaction of the customers. This chap's obviously got a sweet tooth. Time now for a turn on the billiard table. Take careful aim, and if at first you don't succeed, well, try screwing your face up. Or you may like to try your hand at a game of darts. Those were a couple of good ones. I wonder if putting your tongue out does make a difference. Here are a couple of girls who obviously like to have everything done in black and white. It's a safe principle, too, at times. But it isn't only girls who have patience. These chaps look as though they've got plenty of their own. What do you think makes chess such a popular game? Perhaps it's the maddening excitement of it. Who knows? What about having a word with one of these people? The girl who's scoring, for instance. Ah, the game's over. Hello there. Enjoying yourself?
Yes, I generally do here at club.
That's why you come, of course.
You mean table tennis and so on? Well, that's only one side of club. There's plenty of work to be done as well. Helping and clearing up in the canteen, for instance. Then we do quite a few things outside club.
Sounds interesting. What kind of things?
Well, we try to lend a hand here and there, wherever we can. MAYC clubs are part of the church they're attached to, of course. And some club members help in the Sunday school. It can be quite an experience, believe me. Sometimes the children are nice and quiet, but at other times, well, they can be as much of a problem to us as we often are to the club leaders. Then there's the old folk. Standing in a shopping queue isn't any joke for them, so we help them out as often as we can arrange it. After all, it takes very little longer to get your own shopping and theirs as well at the same time. But you've got to be careful about the change. Doing the garden for the old folk is something the boys can tackle. What sort of job they sometimes make of it is another matter. But every little helps, and it shows willing at any rate. Perhaps it's the same with some of our girls when they go along to act as babysitters. It's a nice, pleasant way to spend an evening, unless baby starts to suspect that mother isn't where he thinks she should be. It's at those times that babysitting can become quite a sickness. Some clubs even run open-air meetings. Here's a group of members just getting ready to begin one. They're probably arguing who's going to speak first. Not all club members are keen enough for this sort of thing, of course. Open-air work takes some doing, I can tell you. Quite a lot of us attend club members' conferences every so often. We manage to have a jolly good time as well as learn a lot we didn't know before. It's funny how much you can get to know through simply talking to each other in a discussion group. It certainly makes you realize how much you don't know at all events. One thing we do for housebound people and those who are ill is to go along to their homes and cheer them up a bit. We sing hymns and read to them and so on. It often does us just as much good as the folk we go to see. And talking of hymns, I think you'd be interested in our club epilogue. It's a strong club loyalty to be present, and most folk wouldn't think of staying away. To tell you the truth, I didn't have much time for religion when I came to club first of all. But the epilogue, together with other things I've seen here, have helped me to change my mind.
Our reading tonight is from the Old Testament, from the book of Isaiah, chapter 40. God giveth power to the faint, and to him that hath no might, he increaseth strength. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Now, shall we close with a prayer?
And now on to another club, where there's quite obviously something rather important in the offing. We'll find out what it is in a moment. But just for now, let's watch these girls at work. This looks a lot easier than it actually is, I fancy. The ballet mistress watches with an experienced eye and isn't satisfied until she's got everything just right. This is the kind of teamwork in which complete understanding between every member taking part is quite vital to the success of the ultimate performance. Now we'll find out what's going on. Hello there. We've just been watching you rehearsing. Getting ready for something special?
We're dancing to the Royal Albert Hall in a week or so's time as an MAYC display. It's going to be good. You coming?
I rather think we will. This display is one of the main events in the annual MAYC weekend in London. At the Methodist Youth Department, headquarters not only of MAYC, but of all the other youth organizations of the Methodist Church, preparations are afoot months before the event. To arrange things so that the thousands of club members travelling to London get the seats they want in the Albert Hall is little short of a nightmare. But with the splendid help of many voluntary workers, the task is somehow finished before the weekend actually begins. At last, the great day arrives. By rail and coach and even aeroplane, young people start to arrive. Here's the first trickle of what will soon be a mighty flood of club members big enough to cram even the largest hall in Britain. They come from Leeds, Manchester and the North, from Birmingham and the Midlands, from East Anglia and Cornwall, and Scotland, Wales and the Channel Islands. Many of the vast crowds of club members who make the annual journey save up every penny for months beforehand to be able to pay for the trip. Their first destination is one of London's deep air raid shelters, now serving a highly useful peacetime purpose as a sleeping place on occasions like this. 2,000 young people will pass this way before the weekend is over. An experienced worker acts as shelter marshal, and under his skillful direction and that of his helpers, the job of moving in far below the surface of the great city is successfully accomplished. It isn't exactly the Ritz, but who cares? Oh, steady on there, chum. Have a heart. Now, after what we hope was a good night's sleep, we move on to the MAYC Congress, held every year in the Central Hall, Westminster. The Great Hall is full of eager young people and their club leaders, and quite often their local ministers too, who have travelled with them. Youth speaks to youth during the open discussion shared exclusively by club members themselves, and the candour is most refreshing. These young people are talking about the relationship of the club to the church, and how the family spirit between young and old can be cultivated. There aren't any awkward pauses, and the time is always too short. Congress has a reputation for youthful hard-hitting and forthrightness. Everyone's contribution is listened to very attentively, and by no means uncritically either. How many future leaders of local communities, we wonder, are likely to look back upon this annual Congress as their first and perhaps hardest ordeal so far as public speaking is concerned? Here is MAYC in action as a youthful democracy, and it certainly is an inspiration to all present. And afterwards, yes, you're quite right, Methodist tradition must be solemnly observed.